Gosh, I am just about to pop off. Um, pop off. I'm just about to transport yesterday's recordings to the computer and combine them with the imagery that I created for their purpose, which is looking honestly really pretty. I'm stoked about the album covers that I created. Open it, new window. Okay. And it's just like it's going well. Like it's not going well in a sense, like in an overall life sense, still with the struggles there, but as far as like, hey, I made this thing and it's not awful, that part's like, not going bad, so that's exciting. I kind of expected more of a challenge in doing art than I got. And in some ways that like really proved me right that art is not hard to do. It's actually just like creating the conditions for art to get done is the hard part. Like the actual act, I know I'm like upsetting people by saying this, but the actual act of doing art is not actually that hard. It's like creating conditions where art can be done in peace is so much more difficult. And like, oh no, fuck, I did not mean to move those images. I just wanted to copy them. Oh my god. See, you just like literally can't think about it at the same time. I think there's just like a lot of copy here. Okay. Yeah, both folders need to have a copy of these because otherwise it's just like it won't work. Muzak question mark, like wow, that's a really well drawn radio. We want to see you draw more like this in this style, but with further elaboration. And I'm like, I know, like I can hear my own self-constructed art teacher giving me constructive feedback, and I'm just like, I know, but I'm busy. Like it's not just the drawing style or like just the drawing that I'm doing, so fucking check back again later when I have more time, Miss Art Teacher, like that's in my head all the time, and I'm just like, yeah, I know, I wish I could focus on that. Like I really, really wish I could. I promise someday I will focus on my artistic talents to the exclusion of all else. That will be a lovely day for all of us, won't it? And trying to get that here and there as you can while doing something like this. But also, I need a job. Like, I tried. I keep applying for places. I keep looking for work, and I'm like, this isn't working. I gotta change my strategy, change my tactics, something, because this is just not good. I can't live off of, I can't pay rent off of joy, Like, yes, I'm creating quite a lot of joy from the artistic and creative processes that I've been going through, and I love that, and I love that the joy is shared. I love that other people are also experiencing this joy. I can tell they are, and that's great. But like also I want time and ability to just like focus on stuff and to actually enjoy my achievements, like these little thumbnails are amazing little pieces of art, and I just keep wanting the time to like get sucked into doing a larger artistic project, and I cannot justify it to myself right now. I'm like, no, we just don't have the capacity, we don't have the ability to do that. And I'm like, why is this so fucking quiet, like it's turned all the way up and I can barely hear it. I'm like, well, that's because you were talking really quietly before. And I'm like, okay, great. Well, do we have the original, do we have the raw fucking, Yeah, and I've gone through this before already with the earlier albums, but I'm like, do we have the raw recording and can we like turn it up to 9? You know, with the decibel in and just like resave it so that it's fucking louder. Oh my god, it's gonna drive me crazy. Okay. I'm gonna pause recording and we'll come back to this because this is the last and third one for the week. So I will see you in a few. Okay, to be honest, I really like cannot be bothered to listen back through those first 16 minutes right now. I started and I got through the first couple minutes and then I was like, wow, this is taking so long. I'm so bored. So I guess that's the other thing is like I am providing this space to contemplate these very scary topics for you, you know, for free and not trying to like rub it in or be like, no, fuck you, pay me, but like it is hard. Like, this isn't an easy thing to create space for. And I know it's scary, and I know there's a lot to think about. And I know, you know, like, you might need to listen to an episode again and again, and that totally makes sense. I know I do. I will just point out, though, that, like, I'm being as much myself as I can possibly be with you during these times in order to do this. It's a very intimate space, you know, it's very personal, and it's very, like, my life is on the line, sort of, just to open up this much. I know and have watched the performing arts for a long time from a perspective of a connoisseur and an enjoyer, an audience member, and I have appreciatively, I hope, you know, appreciatively acknowledge to myself the level of effort that it takes for performing artists to do what they do. And one of the, you know, most dangerous, most extreme, most intense versions of performing art is obviously method acting, or, you know, like pretty much just going in to the headspace or to the performance space with the intention of being genuine and real, while also keeping in mind that this is a performance of some sort, like that this is going to be consumed by a larger crowd than just yourself and whoever is helping you film it, or whoever is helping you to set the stage, as it were. And so there are like aspects to it that I'm trying to keep in mind when it comes to my stage production, and all of these other, I want to say, details of production and distribution, that despite how like easy it is for me in some ways to just be my most genuine, authentic self, like that's the one thing that I know I can do. And so like on the one hand, that's the thing that I'm giving and that I'm selling, quote quote, in these podcasts, in these episodes, in this like construction media format, packaged, designed to like reach you sort of thing. But at the same time, you know, because it is that genuine and because it is that authentic and honest and fluid, it is very much, you know, cost worthy. It costs me to do, and it costs me in ways that we don't have a good way to measure or adequately compensate for. The best thing you could possibly do, honestly, more than like help me make money through my streams, is actually just like think with compassion and care about the things that I talk about, and about yourself as well, in contemplation of the things that I talk about. I know that's hard. I know it seems like too easy and too hard at the same time, but like when it comes to being a good, thoughtful consumer of art or artistry or creative content in general, one of the best things you can do first is to hold space with it, just yourself. Like in doing so, in doing that space holding, that protective care, curating of observation surrounding my work or what it is that I am doing, or giving, that is going to be like the most regenerative and restorative in the psychic like world for me. I can feel the listeners listening, and the deeper you listen, the safer I am. Like as a creator, as a content creator. So like, yeah, I guess just so like yeah, but I guess just keep doing that. And thank you for doing that. And let's hope that the podcast format does kind of calm down, because I really didn't expect it to take this much out of me. I didn't expect it to feel this like viscerally taxing, and it has like completely wiped me out to some extent. I have insisted on sticking with the content format and the like all of these different aspects of it in the hope that it would just kind of even itself out. Like, not even itself out, but like, you know, I don't know, like when you first start doing something that you know is going to make waves, it's worth just like holding your position and seeing what size the waveform like moderates itself to, assuming you keep your positionality. So worth doing. Hoping to continue holding positionality in the way like, and having just like a regular wave format coming from me in the form of these podcasts. Really do think that that's the mode for moving this conversation forward. Along with many other podcasts, I listened to the like plant parent episode of Sounds Like a Cult the other day, and I was stoked. I was like, yes, they get it. They literally like, how did she phrase it? She just said something just absolutely absurdly on point, where I was like, wow, you nailed that description so hard. Something about the cultural zeitgeist, but I was like, you fucking get it, you know? Like, I was stoked. And so I hear stuff like that. I consume media like that, and I think like, okay, well, my particular form of output is not like too radical, you know, like other people are out there already doing this kind of thing, and they're so right to do it, and they're like, they know, you know, like they got it, they know what they're up to. And so I'm like, okay, sweet, I can do something similar. But then every time, you know, I post, or every time I'm like thinking about my listeners or the patterns that my own behavior and voice are making in ways that like I can't help but know are visible to others, and that like I'm not sure I'm like ready to be that exposed to others, but at the same time I'm like, well, it's too late now, you know. And I'm just like, yeah, that's why this episode is named Patterns, I guess. But just like thinking about my listeners and hoping that they are, you know, taking me with a grain of salt and treating me kindly in the way that they think of me, and themselves too. Like, the one of the parts that I think, you know, we don't talk about enough, and that I know I try to talk about as much as possible, is how little kindness we like really give ourselves, and like how little space we truly give ourselves for the type of contemplation or just even emotional experiencing. Like, taking space for experiencing something emotionally is not the same thing as taking space for thinking about something intellectually, and those matter. Like, that difference really matters. And this goes back to adequately compensating artists. Financial compensation is not adequate compensation for people who like take a deep dive into emotionality, and come back with something intellectually consumable, essentially, for others to like understand and share and resonate with. It's just absurd, like the way that artists are not given their proper like place in society or in our world is just painful, you know. And I know it's painful for everyone. It's painful for the consumers of art, it's painful for the creators of art, and artistic content. And like, my only hope is that we can we can change. My only hope is that we will change. My only hope is that like we are changing, you know, like we're seeing this conversation like we were talking about last week with AI. We're seeing this conversation of like assuming our tools and our computers and our technological advancement get advanced enough to be, you know, in the words of Terry Pratchett, like similar enough to science. I don't think he was the first one to say it. But, you know, when our science becomes sufficiently advanced to look like magic, you know, what's next? And that's a great question. I think it's worth answering in like a long format, languorously lazy sort of way in which we contemplate it with slowness and depth for which I believe it deserves. And also, like, that we all know we need. I know I'm constantly making this argument that all of our most like bitter cruelties are a result of our grief and our like human like our human grief at like the passing of time, the morality, the mortality of everything, and how like swiftly the time goes and how little we have of it ultimately as people, and like that grief is never ending. It's constantly shared. It's like a river that flows between all people, and it often, like when that river is stirred, you get bitterness, you get like the muddy water is cruelty, you know, like, and it sucks. I'm not usually one for stirring that river of grief. I generally just float down it as like gently as possible, but the river people will be up in arms this year, and that's partially, you know, that's partially my fault. I'm not gonna say like I'm in charge of the river people, but I am a river person, so if I'm up in arms, I assume, you know, all of us are to some extent. But yeah, I don't even know where I'm going with this. Pay your artists, you know, like, and if you are doing deep emotional work, just acknowledge it to yourself. Pay yourself, quote, quote, you know, like, do something good for you, do something you love, do something you enjoy. I personally just baked like 2 delicious, amazing loaves of bread yesterday. Like, it's just insane. It's so good. And what's best is I used salt, like I used the salt that I had dehydrated from my own ocean. So it's like ocean bread. The only things in it are yeast and like the dirt of my house and the salt from my ocean and, you know, the flour from my grocery store. So it's pretty cool. Exciting stuff there. And it's really good bread. It's got like the crunchy, crusty outer edges and just like so much super soft internal. It's amazing. I had 2 different sandwiches yesterday, and I plan to have another sandwich today. The art of sandwich construction is a lost art, and I did not quite realize how joyous and beautiful it could possibly be. So I'm like deeply enjoying that. And I want to be like, and I always have, but like, I don't know, it's just there's something else about all of these different ingredients coming together to make a perfect meal, and it's such a short, simple meal that can be eaten like over the counter, and yet it's so, you know, individually beautiful, and it took so much work to like get those basil and tomatoes into this config, you know, to be eaten. It's just, there's been a lot, I guess there's just been a lot of like contemplation over the beauty of the simple things, and I think that is one place to start if you need something to anchor in when contemplating all these things that you fear, because like we fear so much, and we need to be able to face our fears and to contemplate them in order to do anything about them. But to like, in facing your fear, if you need like something to anchor in, just like choose your favorite simple pleasure. Obviously one of mine currently is making my own sandwiches with bread that I baked myself, but that's like really high key. It took me a long time to accomplish that. It took more than 10 years, I would say, to accomplish that particular endeavor. And I'm a lover of the simple things, and so I usually can get away with being like, boastful about the 10 years of work that I did. But it's also like, but now what are you working on? Like people want to know, and I can tell, and I'm like, I'm not ready. I'm working on saving more glassware. I don't know, like I haven't decided. And sometimes that type of attention is like really good and motivating and helpful, like knowing that you're being like observed to see what new cool type of what is it called? Self-help, I guess, but just like self advancement, self construction, self whatever thing that you're doing. And other times it's like really scary, like there is a wrong amount of attention. Is all I can say. Like sometimes if too many people are watching, you freeze. Like you're just not gonna be able to perform, and it's going to like choke you. So that's something I think about a lot when I think about attention and like who's watching, besides me. And I guess I'll leave you with this like request, dear listener, that if you are contemplating me in ways that involve like speculative futurism contemplation, like I wonder what she's up to now, I wonder what she's going to do in the future. If you find yourself just gently wondering over these questions, please envision something really lovely for me and really kind, and I'll do the same for you, and we'll just imagine just the most gentle, best things, and hope that they will happen to us. Okay? Okay. I'll post this now. Okay, yeah, so wow, I said like 50 million things in the last 16 minutes. Just absolutely ridiculous going off there. Essentially talking about, I don't know, like, yeah, I don't even know. I just listened to it, and I know that this is like the specific premise of my podcast, and that I've been winging it, quote, quote, in a way that, I intentionally designed to be sort of like, not like butterfly effect necessarily. Okay, I get it, WordPress. Jesus fucking Christ. If I was worried about the domain dying, I would have done something the first 5 times you reminded me. Ugh, yeah. What was I saying? Oh, just, I made a lot of choices about the way this podcast is gonna go based on how I know myself, like how well I know myself and the way that I think about stuff. And I'm realizing, like, to the average listener, it's like jumping around topics so much, to the point of like barely being able to follow the flow and having epiphanies like frequently and being like, oh my God, give me time, give me some space to have that epiphany, for myself, I guess, like without you, Cozy, and like, yeah, I mean, podcasts, one of the reasons, like, as a media format, I'm gonna get super nerdy here, but like as a media format, one of the reasons that podcasts are so transformative in like in the field, in the world of different media formats for communicating. Because remember, I'm always thinking from a top like perspective of everything we do is some means of like reaching out to one another, trying to communicate with each other, trying to reassure each other. So like as far as podcasts go, as a medium or as a form of communicating, they go really fucking hard. At least partially because they create space at the same time as they offer topics for contemplation. Not only do they make you think about stuff differently, we hope, right? Like that was kind of the idea of podcasts, was to have a little nice little noggin helmet for your noodler, to like really contemplate some serious and deep stuff. And that's like the whole point, and it's beautiful, it's amazing. I know there's a lot of like tenderness surrounding some people's understanding of intellectualism, or being intellectual, being more intellectual than physical, or being like stuck in your head. Like the phrase, you know, when mental health literacy was really picking up in the common vernacular, like I just trace these by, obviously, by language. Like I'm just a slang aficionado. But when people started saying stuff like up in my mental, or I've been too in my head lately, or it's wrecking my mental, you know, like this consistent and in slang, like in common day reference to their headspace was fucking huge. That was like just a phenomenal step forward for us as people. Very exciting stuff in a more general sense. And you know, really indicated that we were thinking a lot more about what's going on in our head, no matter who we were or how much we espoused anti-intellectualism as a general concept, especially intellectualism as it was defined at the time. You know, like not just being a book nerd or a techie or, you know, a geek of some sort, but like intellectualism, and those who are anti-intellectual are a pretty wide swath of the population one way or another. And it's been an ongoing kind of like battle. But not to get sidetracked into that, yeah, podcasts as a media format were like an entirely new space to help both create space and also like give you space, give you a safe place to contemplate things, whether they're like incredibly serious, incredibly intense, or whether they're sort of like more chill and more fun and more entertaining. So, you know, creating a podcast, I have like kept that in mind and tried to be thoughtful and conscientious that like in theory I have one or more listeners who I am taking like their brains for an hour. I'm kidnapping you, and I'm like just taking over, and I'm like, hey, listen to me and all of these different things that are going on. I want you to contemplate all of these things, and some of them are very, 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 very scary. So I'm gonna make room for us to think about that, and I think it'll be helpful. I think it'll be useful, and I think if more space makers did this, we would have more progress. So I figure I'll model the behavior, and hopefully others will pick it up. I love copycats. I love seeing copycats in real life, especially when the idea is just good. And I think that's something I've noticed with a lot of people who like would normally not consider themselves to be anarchists or to be like free-loving, pinko, commie, you know, social justice warrior, snowflake types, which obviously I tend to relate to the most, but even people who don't see themselves in this way do like inherently relate to seeing something, if it's a good idea, getting picked up by the larger community and ran with in order to just like update the group, like the social species. And that's easy to demonstrate in slang and it's in like vernacular and vocabulary, and it's harder to demonstrate in things like all people should be fed or everyone deserves housing as a basic human right. But it is it is really an awesome and fantastic experience when you see something get picked up and ran with in that extent, to that extent, at a social societal level in that way. And that's why I tend to think of the far left as like being the most progressive, in the sense that they're willing to do constructionism socially and infrastructurally at a level that completely changes the quality of life, or like the basic level of experience for all human beings. That's really some fundamental like fuckery, and it's highly controlled, probably because of how fundamentally impactful it can be. But it's not like, ow, God, what was I trying to say? I got stuck in politics again. I like dipped my toe in the murk of politics, and the bog tried to pull me in. The fucking quicksand, man. It's there. It's real. It's out there for you. It's just, it lives in the metaphor more than the physical. I think that's one thing that's gotten me and anybody who knows like the stuff that I know freaked out, and I totally get it, because like I'm sitting here spouting off and telling people, listen to animators like they know things, but they do. They like have to draw stuff. They have to draw it, like the physical reality of something, with the assumption that it's got to be close to reality. And that's how I feel about artists in general. And I guess I started that part of the conversation like now with how I'm doing. Like I was pretty sure when I was doing like the classic grind, trying to get a corporate job or a more corporate job, kind of government. I was going for government or education, to be honest, but like a job within the system, as opposed to like being a freelance artist and taking my chances. What a completely weird thing to do, in the way that I did it. Super crazy pants. But one of the things I was contemplating, from the other side, watching artists try to be artists, and like personally hoping someday I could also be an artist, and like trying and like practicing my little sketches and my little things, but like also never having the balls to like make that leap, and like being afraid really, and being like, oh my God, the sheer lack of security in the starving artist lifestyle is so intense. It's so insane. And it's like, it gives you such a perspective on why elaboration of existence in the format of like artistic and creative endeavors has such a different toll. It has such a different cost than can be well measured by our society, or our current like environment. And because of that lack of like capacity to appropriately measure it, there's so much that falls through the cracks and like just never gets adequately compensated. But also just like, yeah, it just makes it like really impossible to compare it to the system that we're familiar with, as far as like making a living goes, or gaining and or maintaining stability, financial security, stuff like this. Really difficult to articulate what all gets lost in translation there, and I have been trying to do so using like modalities that I know people are familiar with, based on where I know your literacy is, based on 5 years ago capture of Reddit, you know, but it's like super biased. It's biased for me, which is why I consistently repeat my positionality and all of these different contextual markers so that it's easier for you to understand the ways in which I personally am biased and da 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 da. Anyway, yeah, I know you know this, but my weirdness boosted. Surely not my weirdness. I don't even speak German. Oh, that's cool. Fucking legit. I need to learn Bash so bad. Hack the planet, yes. Whitefish, boosted, I'll boost it too. The move aims to ethnically cleanse the Gaza Strip by starving nearly 2 million people and controlling the aid distribution. No shit. Not surprising. Tried a few hats, caps, and beanies today, but like none of them. Maybe I don't have a hat face after all. I think you just didn't find the hat that worked for you. True Love's Definition by Existential Comics. Let's check that out. Can't leave that. Oh, that's good. True Love's Definition. That's amazing. I am the known pervert, Socrates. Oh, was he a pervert? I don't know. There's so much I don't know about the things I make jokes about that I'm always like, that's gonna come back to haunt me. I just know it will. I'm like, I made a joke about that guy, and I'm definitely not familiar enough with him to like. It says that screen addicted couples are less likely to notice changes in their partner. Oof. That's pretty bad oatmeal. Okay, I swear I'm not gonna get distracted by comics again. Definitely not my. I'm like, I want time to write, I want time to draw. We need the mods to change the odds to 100% chronic migraine, Ken. Yeah, I don't blame you, Ken. I would also have a chronic migraine. Art lover. Yeah, I know. There's so many people I miss. So many things I miss. Planted some seeds today, that's good. I've been watching my friends like living, you know, through Instagram and stuff and getting jealous and whatever. Everybody's on vacation or like, you know, graduating or spending time with their family or like just doing interesting stuff, and I'm like, ugh, what a time in my life to have like essentially intentionally imposed some FOMO. I'm just like, why did I do that? Why did I do that to me? Oh my god. Oh, it kills me. I'm like, I had plans, you know? I had plans for my life that did not involve. This is all a lot of, lots of things to think about here. Like, hibernating myself. Okay, let's try this again. And doing this much internal work. Like, I really did not mean to do that. At all. But yet, that is how that worked. Like, I don't think I've then been like this much in my own head since like middle or high school. Yeah, I know. It's been so long. I'm like, I didn't know I forgot you could know yourself this well. And part of me is like, ha ha ha, because I love knowing myself, and the rest of me is like, I need people. You know, like the rest of me is all like desiccated and dried up, like needs attention, needs normalcy, needs water. Probably. I probably do need more water. I've been drinking way too much coffee, to be honest. But yeah, like on the other hand, I do think I can enjoy things like anime a lot better. I know that's like a wildly hot take, but I feel like a lot of what happens to people as they age and they start to get jaded and they start to be like, oh, well, anime is for children and losers, or animation in general is for children and losers, which is generally for some reason the like hot take of society, no matter what anime is currently popular or on the rise, which is so funny because there's like plenty of people who absolutely adore anime and who popularize it and who make it hot and sexy and who like keep it going as far as like the mainstream goes, and I'm not one of them. I'm like not good at that kind of thing. I have like my favorites that I cherish, and you know, the things that I've seen that I'm like not willing to watch more of until these conditions are appropriately met, and like all of this other stuff relating to animation. But at the same time, I think it's really interesting that so much of our like the audience for animation is children and losers. I'm like, what a weird combo. And personally, I've always thought it's because animators are very, very good at like taking a moment to quietly contemplate the small pieces of life, or like the little bits of life that we all wish we could cherish for longer. And a lot of times animation in general is designed to, in a very long format way, help people process or cherish things. That does take a little extra time, usually really deep emotional work, I would argue, but also sometimes it's really deep, not necessarily emotional stuff, but like just deep truths about the world and about life that is very difficult for some people to like fully internalize or contemplate. Who's Sebastian? Responsive design. Not the guy I thought he was. I thought he was the barista I worked with in 2016. Yeah, I don't know why I would think that, just finding some guy online named Sebastian. I'm like, is it my Sebastian? No, it's not. It almost never is my person, but you know, I'm just always like, maybe this time it will be. Uh, um, but yeah, I guess what I was saying was that like, after now feeling like I've really kind of gotten more in touch with myself, and been more intentionally, thoughtfully connecting with myself, you know, on top of just like experiencing some really serious depression, but whatever. You know, since that's been going on, I do feel like anime is more exciting to me, and also like more accessible. Animation in general and anime. I know I already like didn't have much of a problem accessing these media formats, but it's nice also to just know, because you start feeling jaded and like, I'm not gonna watch that because it's for children. And I'm just like, okay, so you hate children and or things that children might enjoy. Like, children are fucking so great and so smart. I don't know why would we hate the things that they... Sorry, I got distracted. Colorado lawmakers approved a $67 million Stimulus package for water programs. They eliminated a sports betting tax break to generate more cash for those same programs. They created a special panel to examine better ways to fund water programs in the future. Way to go! Severance tax, restriction, water supply forecasting through snowpack measurement. Hell yeah. Abandoned mine cleanup to improve water quality. Okay. Nice one, Jared. Freshwater news. Okay. That's like a part of... Hell yeah. Job title is editor at Freshwater News. That's fucking legit. Northwestern. Masters in journalism from Northwestern. That had to be difficult. Bachelor's in political science. Wow. And you're doing Freshwater News. Fuck yes. Oh my god. Hell yeah. I love the Colorado Sun. They've been blowing up lately. I don't know, follow the rise and fall of mediocre news outlets. Fucking shoot me. I didn't mean mediocre. Anyway, Western Slope, Denver Metro, Northeast, Southeast, Southwest. Oh. I had no idea. I was very literally in the Denver Metro. I thought the Denver Metro was much larger, to be honest, but of course they would think that. It's funny to contemplate, like, where you grew up in hindsight from a place where you live, like, now. And knowing that you're never going to live there again, like, it just gives you such a different perspective. You're like, I can contemplate your politics and, like, your decision making from a somewhat zoomed out degree while still feeling deeply invested. That's so fun. Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs is a movie I don't get tired of rewatching. I mean, I agree. Hell yeah, this guy's gonna get employed, and once he's employed, I'm gonna get employed. That's my little karmic theory right now. Now that's funny. I eat a lot of liver so that the booze doesn't know where to attack. So bad. I eat liver so the booze doesn't know where to attack. Rough. Oh my god, I know. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know where I was really going with this one. I feel like I started and I said so many cool and interesting things at the beginning. I'm gonna actually, like, listen to that 16 minutes again. Let's see, like, what else did I say, you know, because I already forgot. Let's see what we got. What do we got here? When you embody values. When you embody values. Oh my god, I sound so fucking that reinforce native and indigenous erasures. You lose humanity. 010001. What did I call this? Fuck. I named it something. Music. In order to stay alive. Q mark. Whew. Of housing and food. It's gonna be really freaked out if I didn't remember what I called that. Okay. 010047. What do we call this one? Honeycomb skyscrapers, I think. Honeycomb skyscrapers. You know, I really do gotta thank my art teacher. In indigenous erasure. 0530 Intro to Patterns. Pattern with a Z. Patterns. Intro. Patterns. We're seeing the patterns now, Cozy. We're seeing the patterns and we can't unsee them. Help us to accept and understand this brand new horror. The patterns. They cannot be unseen. The patterns, Cozy, the patterns. This is how I imagine you talking, honestly.
I think we're all still just flinching.
We are definitely flinching, Cozy. I'm flinching. This is a flinching type of day.
Monstrosities we continue to see
Music, Q mark.
in history, in time, over and over.
Artist name, Cozy Shuri.
In our
Track title, Music, Q mark. I've been thinking about how much
in human places
summer in the Rockies,
monsters of us.
Summer
We don't want to
on the coast. I've been thinking a lot about this comedy skit called Nanette. It was really, really good, but in it she talks about how tension is the like underlying aspect of comedy. Track number, I think we're on track number like 5 or 6, but let me open the folder. Studio, open a new window. MP3, Cozy's Casts, Season 4. Oh, number 6, I would have been wrong. That's why we check. Number 6, year 2025. I've been thinking about how she says in this comedy show, podcast, pop off, that tension is how you create comedy. And I was like, that's so funny because that's how you make horror too. And also love. And so I've just been thinking about tension and the relationships with like horror, comedy, and love. Yeah, save it in here. And how they all have... Are we good? Are we ready? Is that the whole thing? Yeah, okay, export. They all have, like, all this in common, right? Like, tension. The tension of it all. I have been thinking about how frequently I used that, like, this inhuman place makes human monsters quote, which is very good and always relevant. And that's sort of like my thing. I'm like, yeah, Stephen King said a bunch of shit that's like very good and always relevant, but do we have the time to like treat it like it's very good and always relevant all the time? No. And that's a problem, right? Like, and we create time to some extent. We decide if we have time for stuff. So the fact that we struggle to like make time for acknowledging these larger realities and you know, the necessity for kind of living at a slower pace. Honeycomb, skyscrapers. That word just doesn't look like a real word, but it is, and it's beautiful. Okay, number 7. Okay, and we will export. Yep, and then this will be the last one, and that's for the week. So we made it again. We made it another week. I gotta tell you, every time I like make it to a new week, I am a little bit scared, to be honest, because it's a little close. It's a little too close. Like it's closer than I would like it to be. When it comes to making it through the week. And I think you know what I mean. You know how it feels when like making it through the week feels like just barely making it through the week. That's been me. Like way too much, especially with this podcast. Alice who? What a week, huh? Yeah, no shit. Thanks for saying it, Alice. Miss Puzzler, she has just been so emotionally supportive of me. Caffeinomancer, Stargazer, Bookworm, yay! Oh, and the Pac-Man, it's all there. It's all there. I love you. Thank you. Oh gosh, where was I going? We aren't very good at like acknowledging that we need time, and even when we do acknowledge that we need it, we're not very good at taking it. We're not very good at being like, okay, we need time. We need to take that time to like see stuff and like internalize things and acknowledge one another, and then like maybe hopefully, fingers crossed, like come to some new wonderment understanding of reality that helps us feel like it's bearable. Because I'm realizing I always forget that so many people. Surely you know the song. Surely you know the song. Do you want to dance? Surely you know the song. Because we're all really used to treating existence like it's really scary, you know? And I'm like, what if instead of scary we chose excitement? Like, what if we waited a little bit more, and instead of treating it, season number 4 now, gosh, number 6 episode, instead of treating it like, you know, like uncomprehending terror type of scary, what if we just treated it like going out the door when you'd rather stay home type of scary, right? Like, it's a different level of scary, and one of them kind of lets you get a larger handle on things. I think everybody could use, you know, taking a pause before screaming in existential terror, and just realize you don't have to scream. You could just breathe through that existential terror and like acknowledge or realize that it's not actually as scary as you were worried it would be. Almost because unilaterally human fear casts unilaterally human fear casts its own shadow. So on top of the like living reality of how scary something is, which it usually is the exact amount of scary you think it's gonna be, there's this additional layer of like human fear has its own thin shadow. So you're like scared an additional amount than you need to be. And I'm not saying like, oh, just ignore that amount or just like ignore that extra little bit of fear, because I think that's actually a protective quality in our like reactionaryism, is like, oh, you know, if we're always a little bit more scared, honeycomb skyscrapers, if we're always like a little bit more scared, can you imagine dot 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 question mark, oh, that didn't type, okay, can you imagine dot 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 question mark, we're always like, yeah, that looks good. Yeah, I think it's a protective quality. So I'm not saying like we shouldn't necessarily be that extra layer of scared. I think it's good. I just think that that extra shadow of fear that we cast ourselves with our own contemplation, our own murmuration of thought, deserves in itself to be acknowledged by us as a space that we can possess, that we can hold, that we can briefly embody when we completely possess our own fear. I know that sounds like weirdly sexual, I guess, but like when we completely embrace that shadow of fear that we ourselves cast, and we hold space with it and we hold it, we are given a very, very slight, very small bit of space in which to contemplate the rest of the thing that is giving us fear and all of the reasons it is scary. And now that's like why it's hard, and that's like the entire premise of Dune is like, fear's the mind killer, and here's how you know, here's how you mentally like create the discipline to dominate that tiny shadow space that Cozy's talking about in order to like stay with the thing that scares you so that you can observe it somewhat impartially and then internalize what you've learned and then do something useful about it. And yeah, that does sound like quite a lot, and it is a lot of work to do that in the space of like, oh god, I'm scared, and a lot of the time we can't like even do it, right? Like it's a very difficult thing to do. And when I was younger, I was always very like, oh, what is this? An MP4 called Blue? I need to know. It's a bird. Oh my god, it's a happy little parakeet. Oh, yes. I am retweeting that. Oh, sorry, boosting. We call it boosting. It's not retweeting, it's boosting. I'm boosting it. Yeah, like how do we even do that? A lot of times like we literally can't. Embodying that fear is impossible, or it takes up so much effort and work that it's impossible to describe like how to do it, and it really depends on what it is that's scaring you so much as well. Like I spend most of my time when it comes to like facing your fears, I spend most of my time doing that in a psychological way, and so I'm really not great at facing my fears in a physiological way at all. Like it's not something I'm good at. And it's something that I struggle with and have challenged or been challenged by most of my life, challenged myself with or been challenged by, yeah, most of my life, because like, oh my God, it's just I'm not good at it. I'm like, I do not want to go skiing or snowboarding. That sounds terrifying. And things like this. Like, and I've usually pushed myself, move here. I've usually pushed myself past this fear, specifically because I want, like a bit more mastery over my physiological behavior and movement. And I know that I've made that clear when talking about like exercise and health and wellness within the context of exercise. I know I mentioned I found exercise a lot easier to focus on when it came to losing weight and like becoming a healthy weight from 270 to like 150, 160. And I try not to get like locked in on numbers, but sometimes me and others need the reminder of like, oh yeah, it really was that like large of a change, because it's genuinely so difficult to do such large changes over a reasonable course of time, and I'm so proud that I did it over a reasonable course of time, because like losing 100 pounds in 6 months would have been deeply unhealthy and really problematic and indicative of, like a yo-yo dieting starvation model experience, and that's just not what I did. And so it's very impressive, and I would continue to be impressed by it. Um, and partially just like so fucking happy about it, because like, God, is it satisfying to think about something and be like, you know what, if I understand how this works properly, then this particular thing um, should have this particular effect. And then to find that it does, oh my gosh, it's satisfying. It's exactly why science is satisfying. It's exactly why so many people went atheist so hard when it became an option, or when it became like a question of religiosity versus secularism. I don't think people would if it hadn't been framed that way necessarily, but yeah, I don't know. Anyway, my point is, yeah, that's been very satisfying. Where am I going with this? The calories in, calories out thing totally got me. I'm like, yes, I did that so perfectly, still so proud. It's funny to be proud of something that took you years to do and that happened years ago. I'm like, I didn't know that I could be happy about stuff or like proud of stuff for that long, like to find that your satisfaction does not get diminished after such a long period of effort. Yeah, just like, oh my gosh, no shit. Um, it's just so nice. It's so nice to see that that doesn't change. But yeah, I do feel like I got super distracted where I was going with that. So, oh my God. All right, I'll run it back.